Hi all, I'm Duty and welcome into the VR accessibility overview for Propagation Paradise Hotel, which currently is playable on PC with PC VR, the Quest 2, and the Quest Pro. And I also noticed it has been announced but not released as of this recording for the PlayStation VR 2. So that will be a thing. If that is all you have, that will be out in the future apparently. But all that out of the way, I do want to say thank you as well to DewdyDoes Studio for the game key so that I may do this overview, cover all the things that it has and does not have for accessibility, and be able to get all that information out to you through these overviews, or this overview, as well as notes. All can be found on DewdyDoes.com, always down in the description, right at the top. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into it. One last thing before I actually get into the overview. The gameplay you are seeing to the left of me, if you want the gameplay and nothing more, there is a pure gameplay playthrough video, all that is also available right alongside this one. They're both up. You can go watch that one if you just want gameplay. Just want that, my goofy commentary. There you go. It's over there. It's its own thing. But if you're here for the notes, you're here for the notes. So now let's get into it. All right. First thing I want to cover, I was not playing this game on PC. I was playing this game on the Quest 2. But I did make sure that I got the information for this. If you are playing this on PC and you need to still access OVR advanced settings or walk-in VR for whatever kind of thing you may need, because they both cover a lot of things, you can. I've been told that you can still open the Steam VR menus while you are in game. Now, obviously, if you are using a Quest 2 and you have it connected to a PC with like a link cable, or you're using AirLink, I think that's what that's called. I don't use it. Then it will of course open the like Oculus VR program, and from within that you'll have to open Steam VR and then start the game and you'll be good. Or OVR advanced settings, open that up, that'll boot up Steam VR and you're good. And the reason this is important, and this goes into the next, seated mode. That is something very personal to me. Really, if it's not in a game, it's hard for me to even play it, let alone be able to test it and get information. This game does have a seated mode. Now, the seated mode is good, and maybe it's just the height of my wheelchair not being high enough. I don't know. I would think it would be at the typical height of most chairs. Not sure. But even with the seated mode turned on, you may or may not still need to either activate the height adjust setting on the Quest 2, and I'm assuming it's also on the Quest Pro. I don't know, don't have it. Or if you're on PC, you will need to use either the height offset on OVR advanced settings, or you will need to be able to use walk-in VR And they have a few different things within Walk-in VR to adjust your height, to be able to crouch and stand back up and get it to where you need it. I did also actually notice this with the original Propagation VR. It seemed like it was kind of the same way. The seated mode is just a little, for me personally, it was still just a little bit lower than what it needed to be. So you may have to use these things. You may notice in the gameplay, I actually do switch. There's a little cut and then it switches and all of a sudden I'm taller. I had to turn on the Quest 2's height adjust to be at the most likely intended height of the game. So you might have to as well. I don't know. And the only issue I see with this is really now knowing that it's going to have a PSVR 2 release, that might cause an issue. I have not heard of there being a ton of accessibility stuff when it comes to that thing. So that might be an issue if it doesn't quite put you at the intended height, because certain things might end up being out of your reach that you might need. So that could be an issue. Maybe if wanted devs see this overview, they can mess around with it before that version comes out so that that isn't a problem. But I don't know. Alright, I want to cover changeable controls next, because I know that is even still something I look for. VR games are actually getting better. They're getting better, kinda, with this. It is not, there's not a ton, but there's enough. You get to choose what hand is kind of your weapon hand. So what one's going to be holding the gun, most likely, or maybe there's a melee weapon at some point that you can smack the zombies with. What arm's that going to be going to? You can choose right or left. And myself, probably notice it in the gameplay, I choose left because I'm left-handed. And you can also flip the controls to southpaw on the analog sticks. And if you know what southpaw is, or left-handed controls for non-VR games, it basically just means you move with the right analog stick instead of the left one, which is the kind of default with most VR games or any game. You always move with the left stick. This switches it so you can move with the right. And one other thing that I want to touch on as far as controls go is that in a lot of VR games, this is kind of the norm, that the grip, let me grab one of my controllers here. The grip trigger, so the one that your middle finger typically goes on. I'm grabbing the wrong controller in the wrong hand. But, yeah, you right there. That your middle finger typically goes on. That is what's typically used to grip the items, whether it be the gun, whether it be a new magazine for the gun, whether it be a piece of paper, what have you. Necessary items like that. And not everyone, and when it comes to my right hand, not even me, can always easily use those grips. And especially if you maybe have to hold it. So there is an option to switch that so that it is the main trigger that you are then gripping with instead of the typical grip. the normal one. That could definitely come in handy. But as far as controls, that's kind of it. I mean, that is I would say a fair amount, and there's probably a couple that I'm missing. I do make sure I cover as much as possible in the notes, especially if I do miss something in the overview, in the video. But yeah, that's as far as that goes. We're going to move on to movement next. All right. Movement. This is where it can maybe get a little, well, the turnings where it's probably going to get a little bit confusing. Movement, you have two. You have your, let's look at my notes. Oh, you have three for movement. You have your normal teleport movement for if the typical movement makes you uneasy, which I know it can. So you have your teleport movement. That's just like an option. You just, can check the box, I think. Then you have continuous movement, which sometimes is also called smooth movement in games. So seems like that name just switches back and forth. So you have both those, but then you have one that is a mix of both. That is simply just called both. And I did not use that one, but I would assume that it makes it so you hold one of the buttons to do the teleport. You use the analog stick to move the normal way. So, yeah. Now, turning. Yes, this is where it gets confusing. Just a little bit. All right. For turning, there are three. Actually, four. There are four. You have instant turning, which is essentially snap turning. And you can choose like the degree of snap and all that. Then you have continuous turning, which is what we usually call smooth. It's what is known as smooth turning, I think, in most games. So then you have continuous, which is basically just smooth. That's what I actually use in the gameplay video that you're seeing in this. And then you have smooth, which is a mix of instant and continuous. It's the instant turning mechanic, but it does it kind of like a slow glide, as if you're using continuous turning. But it's the instant turning mixed with continuous. It's weird, but I could definitely see it being useful to people. So, like, I'm not complaining that it's there. It just, I had to pay attention to the settings for a bit to know which exactly did what. But, and then the fourth one, because I did say there were four. The fourth one is just called disable. And essentially that's pure physical turning. So maybe you're somebody that can't stand at all, like me, but maybe you can transfer over to a like a swivel chair, like an office chair kind of thing. And you can maybe use like your foot or something to make the chair turn. Then you could use that. Or if you're somebody that maybe you don't have the best knees, but you can stand to play VR, but not for like huge amounts of time, this may be something you still want to use. So you can turn that to disabled, and then boom, you can like have your physical turning. And then when you have to sit down, you can just go into the menu and change it. So it's a good thing that it's there. Like, I by no means wasn't going to mention it, as it needed to be mentioned. It needed to be talked about, because not every person that is disabled isn't able to stand. There are disabilities. There are tons of them, not just not being able to walk. So it was needed to be mentioned. And yeah, beyond that, the colorblind, there is no colorblind mode, at least not that I could see. I checked the 3 different setting sections a good amount of times. I did not see a colorblind mode. Closed captions, yes. For subtitles, that is in the game. It's good to have. You'll see it again. You're probably seeing it in the gameplay when a character talks. It comes up, says what they say, and all that, which is very good. Very, very good to have. That needs to be in more games. And I am glad that, for the most part, the text does seem like it has a little bit of like somewhat of a background or an outline, so you can see it easier. I do like that. And that is actually really good to have in a game that's heavy on talking. And difficulty levels, just in case, because hey, it is a thing as well. Yeah, you have at least 3. I'm trying to remember right off the top of my head, but I believe easy, normal, and hard are the typical 3 that are in it. There might be one more, but I cannot remember off the top of my head. And I want to add the final thing I'm really going to be going over here that I can go over is going to be the upper body and arm movement levels. Yes, I am kind of reading this stuff from my notes so I can kind of remember everything. And I'm gonna say full. Now, the reason I say that, because again, you're seeing the gameplay next to me, you're probably like, but Duty, you're able to grab at things from a distance because of like the blue beamy thing. True. But you can't do that with everything. You can't do that with the method that you use to save, which is actually a really cool method in the main lobby of the hotel. You have to use a book, but you have to physically touch it. You have to reach out and touch it. You can't just laser pointer it. So there's that. There are certain items. Your inventory. Switching to different tabs to see your map. Your inventory, your objective, notes that you've picked up, anything like that, you have to physically reach for it. Now, I'm not going to say that you probably couldn't, like, you could maybe try and get it to where you have like one arm super close already, and you, or the arm that with the controller that brings up your inventory, and like have that really close, but it's still gonna require arm movement. And then again, the saving and other items that you need to reach out for to physically grab that do not have something to pull it towards you. There, you know, you're not gonna have much of a way to do that. However, I'm gonna interrupt myself on that. If you are playing the game on PC, you can always use Walk-in VR, which allows you to, one, somebody outside of the headset could have a controller and assist you that way. Also, you can set up bindings for your VR controllers to grab and pull yourself towards an item or move yourself away from it. And you can do that with as little as just wrist movement. You don't even have to move your arms. So you could always do that. If you are on Quest, though, you have to play on Quest, Quest 2, Quest Pro, what have you, or anything like that, and you can't make use of that, though. At least right now, I don't entirely know what WannaDev could do to, like, patch things in, so that would be up to them. But yeah, you're gonna need full movement and reach if you're playing on Quest, at least right now. Who knows? Maybe they would think of something. I don't know. I can't say for sure. On PC, like I said, you have Walk-in VR. Walk-in VR is probably the best way to go about that kind of thing. OVR advanced settings can't really cover that one too well, but Walk-in VR sure as heck can. So if you're on PC and playing this game and you need that kind of stuff, that's what to go to. If you're on Quest 2, I don't know what to tell. I'm sorry. This game might have to be a pass for you. And if that is something that you're going to need and all you have is like a PSVR 2, or that's what you're going to get, and you want to play this game when it comes out on that, this might still become an issue. So keep it in mind. But yeah, that's going to be it. Hopefully this helped. If it helps you, that's amazing. That's why I make these. If you know anybody that this would help, give them the link to this video or give them the link to my website, DewdyDoes.com. Like I said, you'll be able to access not only this overview, but all of my other overviews, my setup tutorials that I've done, as well as notes for every VR game that I have played. And I'm slowly adding in non-VR game accessibility notes as well. So yeah, just if anything, link them to that and they'll have access to everything I've covered. So, and you'll have it too. And then you'll know what games you may or may not be able to play aside from just this one. So yeah, hopefully everything's good. If it is, hit that like button. And I hope you're having a lovely day or night whenever you happen to be watching this. And until next time, I will see you later. All right. Bye.